call the Board of Public Works meeting of August 3rd to order. Number 2, approval of minutes of July 20th. Motion by Mr. Bargander, second by Mr. Rosendich. Comments, corrections? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Citizens' comments. I see no citizens here. We don't have anybody online, I don't believe. So we'll go to the construction update. At first presented by Chris Hawley, Street Superintendent.
Good evening, everybody.
Dan, hold it, Chris. Dan?
I got the agenda.
We're good?
And Dan, I don't think your speaker's working either.
It's probably a question for David in the back, if we can get the agenda or the clerk view rather than, there we go. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. This is kind of a new thing talking with this mask, but I see why we have them. So I'd like to start the meeting out tonight with a staff update for you guys. We did do interviews, like I said, in the past, and we have 2 guys that have accepted, and our first guy started this morning, and our next guy will be starting on August 17th. So we'll be at full staff for a little bit before the next retiree. So it's been a long time coming, but happy to say we're at full staff starting August 17th. Some notable accomplishments from the last 2 weeks since we met. Northern Hills and Wood mill and replace projects are now complete with some minor touch-ups and shouldering to do up there. Fairview, 4th, Larch and Mulberry, along with 13th and Locust mill and replace projects all have their first lift of asphalt along with driveways being done. Schmidt, 14th to 17th, ditching and tiling got completed. Then from there, they moved over to Butternut between 17th and Tremel, and they're working on that and should finish that up by Wednesday. And from there, they were going to head over to 26th between Felker and Washington. The water main replacement project is now complete. I think they were just waiting on our last sample was today so they could take them residents off of their temporary water service. And Kurt's crew will be moving over there on Thursday. Just a note that there's very little ditching on this project to do, so this project should go really fast. That just leaves us with 25th, Felker to Butternut. That has no ditching and tiling at all needed there. Hume, Blodgett to Fillmore, and Apple and Cleveland for the rest of the mill and replace projects. Goal is to be completely done, topsoiled and grass growing by the end of September. Adler Road worked out really nice with County Y going out of town, being closed down also. That got done since we last met. That opened up last Thursday, and that project is complete. And I'm happy to say that last year's project on Ives is completed and the grass is growing. So people are out there watering, it's growing, and hopefully we won't get 3 inches of rain tomorrow, but it's looking pretty good out there. The 14th overlay project is completed, and now the crew moved on up to West McMillan. I want to give a shout out to quite a few people about the West McMillan project, starting out with the engineers who designed our detour for us. Wood County let us borrow their advanced warning signs. We put them up a week ahead. Phil's crew and Phil went out there and pretty much knocked on every door a week to 2 weeks before we started the project to get traffic moving in and out of those subdivisions out there. He's got a plan for each resident out there on how to get in and out of their off of McMillan. So they did a really fantastic job out there. The police department, thank you very much. I give a good shout out to Rick and Pat and his crew. We closed the road down early Monday morning. And then by the time we got our closed down, the police were up there, and I think they had already pulled over 30 different vehicles to warn them, to educate the public that it's closed to through traffic. Of course, there's some businesses that have to get in and out, and there's residents that have to get in and out, and we have a plan for them. But if you're coming from Veterans Parkway and trying to get to the hospital, you got to follow the detour sign. And they did a fantastic job all last week helping us out. It's pretty important for our crew and the public to know that the road is closed to through traffic. Our guys know it's closed to through traffic, but sometimes they're not always paying attention, but they should be, that it can get dangerous out there if you're trying to go through the work zone out there. And I understand it's a main corridor going in and out. It's an inconvenience, but by doing it this way and detouring it, we probably saved several weeks of construction on that. So with that being said, they're up there moving right along. Chippewa Concrete is coming in to mill the joints out again. They'll be in on August 10th. And the goal is to be out of there by the end of August and have that ready to go. So, like I said, a lot of work went into that. Not only the detour, but with the police department and the county helping us out. A shout out to everybody out there. Miscellaneous work. Upper Pond Zoo Road is now completed. Ditch tiled, topsoiled, and seeded. That's all looking nice up there. And all last week we did get a patching crew out that was doing a lot of calling potholes and stuff. And sorry to say we're a little more reactive than proactive right now, but we're working on it, and hopefully by getting full staff, we'll have a little bit better maintenance on our pothole patching. So, just to let you guys know also, the milling machine will be in to mill off these streets that we've ditched and tiled already. Schmidt, 14th to 17th, they're coming, the milling machine will be in here on August 17th. Butternut, Tremel to 17th, which Kurt will finish up on Wednesday. That'll get milled on August 17th. 26th, Falco to Washington. That'll also get milled off. There's only one lane left because the water department took out one lane. So there's one lane left to mill off out there. And 25th, Falco to Butternut will be milled off on August 17th also. With that also being said, door hangers will be going out tomorrow for the people on 26th between Falco and Washington to let them know that we'll be in there on Thursday. With that, I'll take any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you, Chris.
Yep.
Next, we'll have Dan Connect, Director of Public Works, to give us an update.
Thank you. Tom left me a few notes before he left for the week, so this will be a brief update. But as we talked about on Cleveland, ahead of the meeting, the curb and gutter and first lift of asphalt is paved on the first two blocks of Cleveland from Central to Walnut, and that is on progress. Our goal is to have those first two blocks open by the time school starts, and I think we'll make that. The rest of the project is still in the underground phases yet of installation of sewer and water. Tom had a few pictures in the agenda packet showing some of the work that's going on there. The next project he wanted an update on was the sanitary sewer interceptor that's behind the aquatic center, the Van de Hey Waters project. We are replacing some of the 30-inch, 36-inch diameter sewer in that area, and it's currently out for bid. You can expect to see those bid results at our next Board of Public Works meeting in 2 weeks. And that's a project that will be done yet this fall. We don't expect it to be a lengthy project, but we want to get it done before the bulk of the site on the aquatic center project gets underway. And I think that is it. The lining project is continuing. Throughout, they're about 60% complete. They're going to take a break here, move on to another project, but then be back this fall. And I think those are the primary items from Tom's update. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Number 5, review of parking restrictions on the south side of Adler Road between Magnolia Drive and Larch Avenue, presented by Dan Connect, Director of Public Works. Dan.
Thank you. At our last meeting, we were talking about the speed limit on Adler Road, and the question on parking restrictions was brought up and referred to this meeting. So we looked at what are the current parking restrictions, and as the map on the screen shows, that it's currently signed no parking on both sides of Adler from Lincoln up to Magnolia, and again on the west end from Hawthorne to the west city limit. But the stretch in the middle between Magnolia and Hawthorne has no parking restrictions at all. The property in question that generates the parking demand is right about here on the eastern side of this zone of no parking restrictions. And what happens when they have evening activities there, you get parking on both sides of the street. And you have pedestrians that are crossing the street to get into that business and so forth. And so it would just make sense to have no parking on that south side and allow them all to park on the north side. And that would be the recommendation. Again, this is under Wood County jurisdiction. So we would simply be making a formal request to Wood County for their highway committee to consider this. Assuming the board would take that action and the council concur next week, then I would pass this request along with the speed limit request on to Wood County and ask to be added to an upcoming highway committee agenda.
I would entertain a motion by Mr. Bargander, second. Mr. Rosendich, questions or comments? Mr. Bargander.
Thank you. This is something that the neighbors want and I want because it's in my district. I drive that road every day, multiple times a day. Dan was right. They park on both sides of the street there by A-Bears during their outdoor activities in the summertime. And there are cars parked, and sometimes you have to slow way down. There's cars coming from both directions. I think it's a very dangerous situation, and I don't want to make it so that they can't park on the other side, on the north side, because I know they have limited parking and they have some pretty big events. But for safety's sake, I really recommend that we vote in favor of this motion and move it on to Wood County Board. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to support this, but I just do have one question. I mean, when we say we're going to restrict parking, is there going to be a certain side of the street that we are, can you show me that again?
Yeah, so the recommendation that I had in the memo was to restrict parking on the south side from Magnolia here to the Larch in the area of the A-Bears, but allow parking on the north side. So it'd only be parking prohibited on one side. Now, you could consider making the whole thing consistent and no parking all the way down to Hawthorne, but there really isn't a parking generator in this area that would lead to parking on the street. So it's really just focused in this.
Well, and that was going to be my next question. So is it, and again, I'm going to support this, but I mean, then we're going to have that one small area of the road that doesn't have a restriction. So I'm just wondering, for consistency's sake, do you make it the same all across? Because as someone who's not, doesn't live in that side of town, doesn't travel that strip of road a lot, it could get confusing when you have a restriction in that one area, no restriction, and then an increased longer restriction. So again, I will support this either way, but I just would like that for food for thought, maybe for the sake of consistency, just have the recommendation be for the whole road.
How long the stretches that one?
Well, it looks to me like it'd be the equivalent of 3 blocks there. So, 1,200 feet, maybe 1,000 feet.
I don't think it would be a problem for those people. Do you, Mr. Bargander? That's your district.
No,
I think you.
there's really no houses at front,
Right.
Adler Road
Right.
along that stretch. And Alderman Fisher has a really good point. Why piecemeal this? Let's just put it all the way from basically wherever part, or from the bridge, I guess, and then all the way up to Lincoln Avenue. It'd be on the south side of the road. So if Mr. Fisher would like to amend my motion, feel free.
Go ahead.
I will amend the motion then to include the entire strip of that street.
Do I have a second? Mr. Rosendin. I don't see you on the screen, Mike, but if you got any comments, just jump in, please. Are you there, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I thought you nodded off. Okay, are we ready to vote, or is there more discussion?
The amendment.
Yes. Okay, all in favor of the amendment to make it consistent all the way through that area with no parking, say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Now we'll go to the original motion Motion to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 6, approval of final assessments for 2019 mill-in-place asphalt paving projects, presented by Dan Connect, Director of Public Works. Dan, give him the bad news.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's actually good news.
Yes.
If you look at the table in the middle of the page there, you'll see that the estimated unit prices are all higher than what the final came in. So that means that most folks will see a lower assessment than what their estimate was. Tom did note in his memo that there were a few that exceed the estimate because they might have asked for their driveway to be widened or a longer culvert or so. But most folks would see something that at or below the estimated assessment. So with that, we'd recommend approval of the final assessments for the 2019 projects as presented.
Motion by Mr. Fisher. How about Mr. Fire? You want a second so we know you're...
Yes.
Okay, any
I was
questions?
waving my hand.
Oh, yeah, I can't see you. There we can.
Sorry.
All right. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those,
Aye.
those opposed? Motion carries. Dan?
Just one last comment on that. We had a few projects from 2019 that didn't get completed in 19, and those were not part of this assessment. So if somebody had a project that was supposed to be done in 19, they won't be assessed until after the 2020 work is complete.
Okay. Number 7, recommended items for future agendas. Anybody have anything? Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Fire and Mr. Margander. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.